Welcome back, friends, to another Epic 7 hero review, and today we're going to talk about one of the best ML5s in the game, Fallen Cecilia. Now, if you have her, you're super lucky because she's easily S tier in PvP, but let's start off by going over her abilities. So her S1 is actually extremely powerful. Most heroes kind of have like throwaway S1s where they're fine, but you don't really rely on them. For Fallen Cecilia, if you look at it, at max Molo, or +4 rather, she has a 100% chance to provoke. And because the damage is proportional to her max health, it actually does a decent amount of damage as well. But the main thing that's good about it is the 100% provoke. So unless they resist it, it's always going to land. Unlike something like a Crow, I believe Crow goes up to 75%, where 1 in 4 times it's just not going to do anything at all. Fallen Cecilia will always provoke if it doesn't get resisted. If they don't have effect resist, if they have 0 effect resist, basically it's an 85% chance to provoke every time with the built-in 15%. Now her S2 is also extremely strong. First of all, at the start of the round, you get a 2-turn barrier, and the barrier is actually pretty damn thick. Depending on her life, it could be anywhere from like 2 to 5,000 damage barrier. It is thick. And also, it can't be stopped by certain strips. Like if you have something like a Cerise, Cerise can't strip it because Cerise's strip is actually a buff duration reduction, and it's a 2-turn barrier. So Cerise will reduce the duration by 1, but it'll still be there. So it's actually strong against a lot of strippers as well. And the other great thing is, at the end of every single turn, it grants a barrier for 2 turns to the ally with the lowest health. Now, if you've ever gotten stuck in a 1v1 against a Fallen Cecilia, let's say you're in Guild Wars and you kill everyone but the Fallen Cecilia and your 2 DPS dies, something like a Soul Weaver can literally never kill Fallen Cecilia because the barrier just keeps coming up and up and up and up. And basically, she has, if you don't have Unbuffable, basically it's like a 2 to 4k heal every single turn, if you want to look at it that way. It's damage mitigation instead of healing. Now her S3 is crazy. It gives your entire team skill nullifier, and this damage is also proportional to max health, and honestly it does pretty decent damage. Like I don't really use it for damage obviously, but I've seen it where like if you defense break an Arbiter Vildred, even with her non-offensive stats, I've crit Arbiter Vildreds for like 8-9k with defense break. So it's not like a cleaving move, but it actually hits for a decent amount. The Soul Burn decreases the cooldown by 2 turns, so it's only a 3-turn cooldown then, which is actually really helpful in something like RTA. In something like Arena, the matches aren't probably going to run that long, so you probably won't ever soul burn her. But in RTA, it's actually really powerful. So now that her skills are out of the way, let's go to how to build her. So this is my Fallen Cecilia right off the bat. Let's go over her imprint. You'll notice mine's +15. She has an effect resist imprint, which is pretty solid, and you can self-imprint her for health. Unfortunately, I don't have any extra Cecilias. This is my Fallen Cecilia's stats. They're pretty solid actually, although nowadays with reforging, people are starting to hit like 30,000 life Cecilias and still maintaining like 180 plus speed, which is ridiculous. But Fallen Cecilia, basically you want to get as much health as possible because why? Her barriers are based on her health. So the more HP Fallen Cecilia has, the thicker the barrier is. You even want to prioritize it over defense. Ideally, you can hover around 1500 defense. If I could, I'd strip away some defense and add it to her health pool because the barrier also helps her teammates. The defense really only helps herself. And for the most part, people don't focus Fallen Cecilia first because she's so damn tanky. You typically want her to be pretty fast as well. Why? Because of her S2. You want to make sure that she's turn cycling pretty fast so that she has continual uptime on her barrier. I'd say ideally you'd want her stats at 1500 defense, 25k life or better, and 200 speed or better. If you can manage those stats and still get effect resist or effectiveness, effectiveness is actually pretty helpful on Fallen Cecilia because of her provoke. If you get like 30 effectiveness, that's probably good enough on average. You're probably not going to be able to provoke an effect resist like Ruel or something without getting into like the 100s. You sacrifice too many stats for that. But if you get 30, that'd be ideal. And then as much effect resist as you could get, but again, really not that important. Artifacts, you're always going to want to use Aureus or Adamant Shield. I don't think I have an extra Adamant Shield to show you. They're all, oh, here we go. So this one decreases critical hit damage received by up to 16% at max. And Aureus, everyone knows what Aureus does. Aureus is also ideal for Fallen Cecilia. I can't think of any reason to not use one of those two artifacts. Now, the one other artifact that some people often use on her is Elbrus Ritual Sword, because they want to counter with the 100% provoke. I'd say generally that's not very reliable, because if you're using like a cleave team or something, your Judge Kisei or whatever the cleaver is will always be on immunity to deal with that. So for arena defense, guild war defense, it's not very helpful, at least not in the initial opener. I'd say Aureus and Adamant Shield is the best bang for your buck. So that's how you build Fallen Cecilia. A very typical knight build, except you might want to get a little bit more speed than normal, because again, you want her to turn cycle, and her base speed's not terrible, 104. It's pretty straightforward. So now let's move on to everyone's favorite part, how to use her in PvP and why she's so goddamn good in PvP. Alright, so let's look at the power of FCC in Arena. So we're going to attack this guy with this team, and let's see what happens without Fallen Cecilia. I think this will really showcase the damage mitigation. Alright, so I do this, whap, boost up Judge Kisei. And oh no! Now I lost the match. And Arbiter Vildred comes back. And wipes out my team. So, there we go. Without Fallen Cecilia, me attacking an ML Ken with Judge Kisei is an automatic loss. Now let's make one simple change. Let's find our Fallen Cecilia, slot her right in there, and let's try this again. Now, we boost up Judge Kisei, we attack, and note, Judge Kisei was dead last time. Now she's at more than 60% health. That's how much damage that Judge Kisei gets mitigated from Fallen Cici. And this is why Fallen Cici is so powerful. She's one of the biggest damage mitigators in the game. And now, this fight went from an impossible to win fight. My Judge Kisei was never going to survive that ML Ken counter into a trivially easy fight. So now we're just going to wrap this up. We have blind debuff, but no big deal. Put up skill nullifier. And look how easy this fight is now. This is actually a really common meta offense comp. A lot of people use this Oxlot's Judge Kisei FCC CDOM. It's because it's very powerful. Like, people say ML Ken is a Judge Kisei counter. Not if they bring a Fallen Cici. Even an ML Ken can't one-shot Judge Kisei through Fallen Cici's barrier. So this is kind of a showcase for Fallen Cici. Obviously that's a cleave team. It also works very well on just like regular bruiser comps. The amount of damage that Fallen Cecilia can mitigate is among the highest in the game, and that's why she's so good in Arena, Guild Wars, RTA, whatever. Alright, time for the final summary. Is Fallen Cecilia good? She's God tier. I mean, in PvP, she's easily S tier. One of the highest damage mitigation, if not the highest damage mitigation hero in the game ever since the C. Armin nerfs. No one stops damage as well as Fallen Cecilia. Now, her weaknesses are really just bizarre, because the unbuffable gets rid of her barrier and prevents her from putting up more barriers. So, or even Seaside Bologna, like anything with unbuffable affects Fallen Cecilia a lot. So that's why you often see her paired with something like Lilius to make sure that the team is not unbuffable so that the barriers can be applied. Outside of that, she is very solid. She's pretty fast. She's extremely tanky, and she makes your entire team tanky, as you saw in that arena clip. So she gives your team an immense amount of survivability. Also, if your team dies in a 1v1 situation, she's fantastic. Because in RTA especially, I've had a lot of situations where my Fallen Cecilia has to like 1v2 their team, and she can do it. Because when the battle rage timer goes up, eventually Fallen Cecilia can do enough damage to kill something like a Soul Weaver, and because she chain provokes them, they can't heal or anything, and she's tanking their damage infinitely with the barrier she gives herself. It's actually pretty funny. So a lot of people can get slowly soloed by Fallen Cecilia, because if you don't do enough damage to break through that barrier, the end result is basically you can't hurt her at all. And that's why it's important to have enough speed on her so she doesn't get turn cut by people so they can whittle the barrier down. If you can have the same speed as them and they can't break the barrier, she's basically immortal. So anyways, if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. Let me know what hero you want reviewed next. Basically, I'm going through all my favorite heroes and reviewing them so that anyone who pulls them in the future can have a detailed, to the point guide for that hero. Thanks for watching. Until next time,